I was hired to take out the infamous character from Breaking Bad, Walter White, chemistry teacher turned kingpin. Our target was attending a high-profile party on a yacht. We were told that he was surrounded by armed guards and never left alone. I made my way to the party to see if I could talk my way through security.
Hey, that's not gonna work. What is that outfit? Move along.
I suggest you do what you're told and turn around.
Apparently, turtlenecks had gone out of fashion, but my mind still went to a very, very dark place. Whilst I could have gotten to him with brute force, I was told to take a more subtle approach and took the advice of improving my appearance. Only question was how. Lucky for me, the man from Del Monte was next to his car and that suit would fit perfectly. Sadly, no amount of waiting got him away from the armed security and he looked like he was about to head inside. But with 7 coins in my pocket, I knew exactly what to do. As the man in the dapper suit got further and further away from his car, I was running out of coins. But the tight-fisted miser greedily lusted after every penny and I lured him close enough to put him to sleep. Yoink, 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 yoink. I felt like a brand new man and adopted a supercilious swagger as I breezed past the guards onto the yacht with easy access to my target. And when I got to the bar, there he was, sat like an absolute boss with 2 women tending to his every need. But my need was getting him away from all those people. Well, it worked before, so I brought out the coins. Walter took the bait. Until he didn't. I couldn't get to his beer to spike it with a sedative. I couldn't get past his harem. This wasn't working, but it wasn't over yet, because now I could put into practice what I learned at school on the day of my final exams. Trigger the fire alarm. As I ran upstairs to take advantage of the chaos, it appeared that nobody cared, especially Walter White, and if I'm honest, I was becoming a bit frustrated. I also considered a childish hit and run, quick disguise change, and then when everybody had calmed down and no one realised that Walter White was still out cold on the floor, I knew that walking out of there wasn't likely to end in my favour, but there was always another way to deal with this, one that I have come to label as the final solution. Yes, there we are, alone at last, and you might be asking, what on earth happened to all those people? And that's a good question. I mean, taking care of the armed security and the mechanics, that was the easy bit, but the guests? Well, you get the idea, but at least everyone was still alive. Mostly still alive. I then considered tormenting Mr. White with psycho killer vibes, stalking him across the boatyard, having him beg for his life. But despite the fact that this scenario could have ended with me completely unscathed, it didn't fit the client criteria of low profile, so I spared his life. Okay, I didn't. But this wasn't how this mission was going to go. At least now I had evaluated all of my options. Here's what actually happened. In the spirit of a low-profile completion, I fired my silenced pistol into the woodwork of the yacht, which caused everyone to start freaking out, made my way to the lower deck, got rumbled immediately and ended up knocking out a security guard, getting his uniform, got caught again, knocked out another guard, changed disguises by choking out a poor mechanic, and then went upstairs to see what everyone had made of the chaos so far. Walter was suitably traumatized, so I tossed a coin just in case he could be lured again, and for a moment, it seemed like it might actually happen. But all my shenanigans had become too suspicious, and I found myself an enemy combatant once more, meaning there was further need to improvise. Just as gunshots almost signaled the end of my mission, my fresh disguise allowed me precious time to once again approach Walter, who unfortunately looked like he was making his way back to his seat, and if that happened, I'd never get this done. A quick body block and one final toss of the coin was all I had left, and it turned out, it was all I needed. What was otherwise a smooth escape was ruined by a moment of stupidity. A body block was about to cost me everything, which is why I learned the ancient art of passing through matter, aka teleglitching. Whilst I should have let it go, I knew I could not and wanted to leave that guy a memento of our time together before finally exiting the scene in my fake boat on the fake water of what turned out to be a film set that Walter White was simply an actor on a TV show. Oh well, I guess that was the last season. I needed a holiday, more of a working holiday really, but to the Maldives I went on a quest to take care of a suspected Syndicate member, codenamed Bobba. But this time there would be no thinking ahead, no 4D chess, because this was Freelancer mode. One wrong move and it was over. Also, there were 4 side objectives that awarded cash to spend on the black market, so I decided I'd be doing them all. Speaking of black market, a supplier was nearby taking a shower. How fortunate. This was an impressive shopping list of weapons and tools. No idea where she was hiding them, as this was a shower cubicle after all, and for that reason, I'm out. It was time to close in on my victim, but hearing music nearby, I couldn't help but realise the proximity of the banging tunes was exactly where a special Hitman supply drop was contained, and this was the perfect moment for me to warm up before silencing the Syndicate member forever.
Hey, crazy man, stop that!
Apparently, my deep squats were too much for my jealous classmates, so I busted out the special moves. He really didn't like those and threatened to call security, so I took my kettlebell and left, because it was time to close in on my mark, Bobba. No photograph to go on, but instructions were that he was a shirtless middle-aged buffoon with blue shorts and a stupid hat. Wasn't hard to find him, and it was time to do what I do best. Security saw the prowl and I had to get out of here, and it was just as well, because I had the wrong target. The real Bobba was on the deck, headed towards the bar, and now I had to figure out a way to dispose of this evil villain. While the target was grabbing a drink, I succumbed to the banging tunes, but this time there were people who appreciated my enthusiasm.
Oh my...
that's
what
cute.
on earth is that?
Thank you. As I was studying my mark, he was studying the ice cream board, and it soon became clear why Bobba had to go. He was hoovering up all the free food all day long, putting this holiday resort out of business. I updated the code name to Bobba the Hutt. He slithered across to the sofas to collapse in a food coma, but anything I did here would surely be noticed as there were people everywhere. Unless I had the perfect angle and accidentally released the kettlebell. Amazingly, he did not die, but instead began snoring loudly, as if I'd somehow done him a favour with a holistic approach to administering a sleeping aid. I sat on a bench of my own, stewing over my failure, realising that I'd also completely forgotten about the side objectives. For me to finish this mission completely, this resort would have to turn into a bloodbath. Bobba eventually awoke from his slumber and was still impossible to isolate, as he was like an NPC, bouncing from the buffet bar to sofa to buffet to... Well, if repetition was all we had, it gave me an idea. Same spot, different weapon, a lethal throw with a katana.
Syndicate member eliminated.
After releasing the deadly blade, I considered that losing the katana was unacceptable, so boldly returned to retrieve it while Bobba was being hoisted out in a black bag. Then I was free to leave this island. All I had to do was get on the boat. Ignore those final 2 side objectives, nobody would ever know. But greed got the better of me, and with this fish as my witness, many guards would perish. Only trouble was that while I did have an SMG, I hadn't yet located a shotgun. Oh well, I pulled out the Daka Daka and got to work. 1 down, 2 to go. The headshots made it easy, which is a good time to mention that aiming through plants, it's a lot harder than it looks, alright? Using my spidey senses, something I try not to do too much because I think it's personally an immersion killer, I could see I was surrounded, but not everyone knew where I was. Without a shotgun, I ran for the boat, but holding G to exit was a lot harder than I thought, and... as if there was ever any doubt. Of course I made it, along with a bunch of cash, and the tourists were saved from imminent starvation, and the Syndicate continued to fear my methods. I was then sent to Thailand to eliminate not 1, not 2, but 3 targets all in the same hotel. First up was Wacky Jackie, one of the Syndicate's biggest earners, but I had no idea how she was making them so much money. That is until I followed her to the lounge.
So, where's your conquest of the week?
Oh, Julian? Oh, he's back in my suite, pouring ice cubes down his shorts.
Okay, so she was draining them physically first, then financially by robbing them once they were out cold on her floor. Just as well I had billionaire boots on and a Stetson cowboy hat. All I had to do was saunter to the bar and let my alpha musk do the rest.
If it isn't my next ex-husband, Jackie Arrington.
Just like that, she gave me her room key. She calls that tactic a conquest? It didn't matter. In a few minutes, I'd have Milady all to myself. However, faced with the prospect of walking into an ambush that could consist of poisonous darts, silenced pistol bullets, or just a hungry cougar covered in lipstick, I decided that I wanted a more meaningful relationship, so this fling was over.
Rockstars aren't that able to
All the way over. It's not me, it's you. 1 down, 2 to go. Curiosity got the better of me and I headed along to Wacky Jackie's room, but even though she gave me her room key, a jealous security guard took it upon himself to become the defender of her chastity. So I made my case for why I had permission to be here. Sure enough, Wacky Jackie's conquest was out cold on the floor, but now I had been self-promoted to hotel security. Perhaps I'd have an easier time getting to the other 2 Syndicate members, and the first of those was Superman Steve, apparently named so because he wears his sweaters like a cape. I waited a few moments for his vanity to require a mirror and hoped that my special item inside the case would survive being frisbeed at the back of his skull. Of course, someone interrupted.
What? Security!
Steve needed an audience, even in death. Where were we? Yes, breaking Super Steve's neck, dumping him in the closet, and our fair tourist would recover when he woke up, except for a nasty headache, maybe a twisted ankle. Our final target was Poison Pete, who used his culinary skills to surreptitiously dispatch the Syndicate's enemies, but today he was inside preparing to poison one of the guests. I prepared a special concoction of my own, one that would make him feel like he was suffocating to the point where he'd have to run outside for fresh air. I think I got the dosage wrong. Oh well, it was time to open the briefcase. I headed upstairs and waited for Pete to wake up, and wake up he did. As he made his way outside, I lined up an impossible shot. Through the balcony, in between the metal carvings, through the glass. They'd never see where it came from. And they didn't. But I missed, and Pete lived, so I went for a possible shot instead. I had to get out of here, and in case anything else went wrong, I wouldn't be stopping for anything. Except a supply case full of cash. I thanked the dock guard for keeping my boat warm for me, and my mission was a roaring success. Remember, if you need an assassin and you don't know who to call me. There's no chance anyone would believe anything I do is a professional hit.
Subscribe to Record.